It's a nice hearty line dance. So you all kind of stand next to each other. So it's like da 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 da.
Hello and welcome to the Roast of Your Teenage Self podcast. I am your host, your roast-coming queen, once caught shoplifting at the Fair Oaks Mall Bath and Body Works, Alise Morales. And with us today, we have just one of my favorite people. She's an actress and comedian, a star of screens large and small, graduate of LaSalle Academy. Please welcome Alyssa Limperis.
Hello. Oh my God. So nice to have a credit include my LaSalle Academy alma mater. It's very grounding. It's very comforting.
Yeah. Do you know if you have ended up on any like notable alumni lists yet? Have you returned to LaSalle Academy in any way?
Well, you know, I did a little interview, I want to say last year. So I did like an interview for the Alumni magazine. Yes, but I haven't been back. I would love to go back. I just haven't. It's so far away because I'm on the West Coast now.
It's interesting because some people that we've had on the podcast have been acknowledged by their high school, and others have like like a high school like. I know. I have not yet been acknowledged by my high school, but I'm hoping someday soon.
Yes.
So this is the first question that I like to ask because I just feel like it sets the tone for your whole high school experience. So is LaSalle a public or private school?
It's a Catholic school. Yeah. So private Catholic school.
Do you feel that teenage Alyssa lived up to the Catholic school girl stereotype?
Yes. And so does 30-year-old Alyssa. Those Catholic, you go to a Catholic school, you don't have another choice. It's the whole like the parent being like, I'm disappointed in you. That's the whole education. So, you know, I like Catholic to me, I very much was a rule follower, and like I was raised Greek Orthodox too. So I would be going to like church on Sunday in Greek Orthodox church and like Greek school. And then I would go to Catholic school and go to mass. So I was getting double duty. Church.
I was like, wow. Yeah. You're participating in a lot of rituals. So
a lot of rituals, a lot of singing, a lot of come to the feast of heaven and earth. Yeah.
And were you into it, or were you like dragging your feet going to church, or what?
I probably was a combo. You know, I just feel like church was kind of like camp as a kid. Like, you know, it was like there were so many like hot, like, you know, who knows, like probably not hot now, but you know, when I was a kid, it was like, oh my God, I have so many crushes at my Greek school, and I was in like, you know, Greek dance. So it was all very like, there was a lot of community there that excited me, but I'm sure that Greek church is like 3 hours long. So I'm sure I was not eager to like sit through church for sure.
It was more like the social aspect of like meeting other kids your age that would be around and stuff. So Greek school, is that something that you do in the morning?
No, what I did, if I remember, was it was like after school. So it was like a learning Greek, but like an after school program type thing.
Okay. Yeah. Cause I've known, like, I think I've had like Chinese friends who did like a Chinese school. Like there's a lot of stuff like that, but I was always so impressed by people who did stuff in the morning before school.
Same. Like before school? Can you even believe we got up that early all the time as kids? And then like
6 o'clock. 5:55 a.m. I remember I was up every day.
I know. That's so crazy.
Now I can't get out of now I literally cannot get out of bed until 9 a.m. I'm in my phone just like staring at things.
Same.
I remember when I was in high school, we had like a large Mormon population at my school, and I found out that the Mormons all met up before school. Everyone was like, you know, the Mormons get together in the morning. And I was like, that's crazy.
Yes. But yeah, even that, it's like clear. It's like, oh yeah, the Mormons get together. Now all of a sudden it's a cool social thing.
So do you have any like figures from your Catholic school, like either administrators, teachers who sort of still loom large in your memory?
Well, I was a big like track runner. Like my life was track and field. So I like very much, my track coach will always and forever be like looming and be a big, good figure in my life. So beyond that, I definitely had some teachers that I loved, but I really, the main person I remember is my track coach. Yeah.
And And were you performing at all then, or was it just all track?
Not really. I really loved it in like middle school. I went to this like arts sort of 7th and 8th grade program, no grades, kind of just like project based. We did these things called tension screams where we'd just go to the field and scream. Very cool.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Do you still do you ever like in your regular life now you're like, I'm going to go tension scream?
Yeah. You know what I do? And it's not really as possible in a city, but like, when I'm really stressed, I'll go for a sprint. I'll go because I was a sprinter. So I'll go somewhere that it's not that populated and I'll sprint and scream. And there's no greater feeling than sprinting and it's very terrifying. But from an outsider perspective, terrifying. A woman sprinting and screaming, absolutely terrifying. So you have to keep the location right. Yeah.
That is true. Like if I saw that, I would be like, oh my God, this is the beginning of a murder documentary.
You'd be at 911. Like, it would be no questions asked. It would be no questions asked. And you'd be running too. You would go run too. Yeah.
Yeah. I would be like, okay, someone is coming actively. Yes. Like there's a danger.
Yes.
Okay. So you had it seems a lot of different activities going on. So you've got track and field, you've got Greek school, you've also got Greek dance.
And I also was a dancer. So I was like also dancing, I want to say 4 nights a week.
So that's my question is, what is your schedule like at this point? Like how much time did each thing take up?
I think it's very telling, like, because I think now I think I just had too much like energy and panic. And I think it really helped me to have a lot of structure. Because now I find myself like building that structure into my life as an adult. And if I don't have that structure, I'm very like, I'm not good with an open day. So I remember I would go to school, I would go to track right after, and then I would go to a dance class from like 7 to 8 at night. And then I would like have dinner, do homework, and then do it again. I was a prude. I wasn't like, I was very activity based.
Couple pictures with your crew here.
Now let's get the squad in. There they are. I mean, this picture, the outfits, the fact that we all blindly followed each other to the ends of the earth with these white skirts.
So I'm looking at your crew and I'm saying, when I see these girls, I'm saying this is a group of good girls.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
These are all my track friends. So we were all like, I feel like if you're a runner too, it's such a not joyful sport. There's no joy. Like it's such a masochistic sport that if you're choosing that and aggressively doing it as like a 13, 14-year-old, like you're a good girl. You're a rule follower, you know? Cause if not, you're like, you're going to cheer. Like, why would there's no joy in sprinting for 2 minutes. This was at like a running banquet.
Oh, okay. So you guys are, and I can see that you're dressed to the nines, as we can see.
And we are dressed to the nines. Definitely style icon was definitely Lizzie McGuire, Hillary Duff, the bangs. I remember going and being like, I need the side swept bangs, and coming out looking like a full grown dog and being like, okay, this wasn't it, but whatever. Yeah.
Well, that was such a thing too as a kid. Like I just never understood why my hair couldn't look like the hair of people on TV. And I'm like, girl, they're wearing a wig.
Oh my God, it's so true.
It's a wig. That's why it looks like that.
It's so true. And also, like, don't you just feel like we didn't, like, the best thing you do when you grow up is you learn your body and you learn, like, what to wear for your body. Like, I don't, like, follow trends now because I'm like, no, if it doesn't work for my body, I'm not following the trend. But when you're young, you don't really know your body. So you're literally just following trends no matter what it does for your body. So you're just kind of blindly following, like, yeah.
Did you get into, because I know, like, you're focused on track. You've got all of this religious activity that's happening.
Yeah.
Did you drink at all or engage in any of that kind of stuff?
Yeah, definitely. Like I want to say by senior year, I like tried it out a few times for sure, and like got in trouble a few times and started experimenting. So by the time I went to college, like I had definitely never smoked pot, and I definitely never like gotten drunk, but I had at least like tried alcohol. So it wasn't like, but it just, yeah, I don't remember it being a huge part of my life. Yeah.
I was like, I like tried it starting maybe like my junior year. And then I was just too nervous about getting in trouble to really fully give myself into it. You said you got in a little bit of trouble. What was it?
A lot of us were at a party that got like the cops called on it. So we all got like, I want to say like 30 people or something all got in trouble because we were at a party. And that was when I was like, oh, well, I'll never do this, ever again. I was like, the thing I've been fearing, it happened, it was all like, I knew this was going to happen, and the thing with like, drinking too, is like, the only time that it's good to drink is if you can really feel like you can let loose. And like, you were doing something that was illegal. So if you're someone who follows the rules, I just remember feeling uptight all the time.
I remember being so convinced that like getting into college was going to be this like Herculean task. And like most colleges would reject me and they would rescind my application at any time.
Yes, totally. I think they had to do that to us to keep us engaged senior year, because they really hammered that home of like, but don't worry, these colleges, they'll take it right away from you.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So I remember I was so into the college application process, and I was such I'm such a task person that I made like a big list of all of my tasks. Do you remember that time in your life, or did you like know what school you wanted to go to, or were you just kind of like all over the place? Like, what was your guiding?
I'm like usually really all over the place with stuff, and I'm usually bad at decisions, but I went on this trip with my dad. We went and saw like, I want to say 10 colleges, and I went to Middlebury, and I was like, this is where I need to go. And I just knew, and we stopped our trip after it, and I applied early decision. Remember that, where it was like committing to the person? Remember that? It
yes.
was like,
Yes.
So and then that was it.
I remember like everyone going around school and talking about like, so-and-so applied early decision. Like it was like big news who applied early decision to where.
Totally. Yeah. So I remember that being a very peaceful decision. I just like very much knew. I was very, not
to continue to go in on the Mormons at my high school, but I remember it was a big thing that they would all apply to like all of the Ivies and get in because they're up at 4:00 in the morning working or whatever.
Exactly. Yes.
And they would tell everyone, like, they would like let you know, like, okay, we all got into Harvard, but then they would all go to BYU. They would just apply so that we would know.
Wow, that's a move.
It was a power move from the community over the rest of us to let us know, like, we could get in to your fancy colleges. We choose to go to Utah. Hello, everyone. Today's episode of the Roast of Your Teenage Self podcast is brought to you by Trivia Star. If I were to ask you to name a member of the Spice Girls or New Kids on the Block, could you do it in under 15 seconds? Yeah? Yes, you could. Well, then you need to download Trivia Star. Trivia Star is a free mobile quiz game that is entertaining yet challenging, just like this podcast. You can choose from categories like music, sports, movies, TV, animals, celebrities. There are over 60 categories to choose from, so there's always more trivia to explore. Just think of how many fun facts you'll have to say at parties when there are parties again. If you choose the correct answer from multiple choice and beat the clock, you move on to the next level. The questions get harder over time, but never fear, because you can use coins and gems to get a hint to beat the next level. And Trivia Star has 2,000 5-star reviews. 2,000. It's unbelievable. In the Apple Store, join them today and see if you are smart enough to win. Right now, Trivia Star is offering 2,500 coins and 500 gems when you download and play. Just go to the Apple or Google Store and search Trivia Star. Again, search Trivia Star for 2,500 coins and 500 gems. Download Trivia Star for free today.
Wow. Yeah, what a crazy time. Like the panic of everyone applying, not being sure what you got into. Yeah.
Do you remember any like major scandals or like big rumors from your high school?
Oh my God. No, oh God. I mean, I have this vivid memory of like going to a prom when I was probably like a freshman or a sophomore. So going to like a junior or senior prom when I was younger and being very like still, not sure of anything. And I just remember someone bringing like a dozen roses in, and then in all the like little plastic water on the bottom, you know how they have like plastic waters, they had vodka in all of them. They had alcohol in them. And so I remember being at the table and seeing them take it off and put it in like their Diet Coke and being like, oh my God, this shit is real.
That's devious.
Yes.
That is, and did you partake in that at all?
No,
or were you like,
I didn't partake until it was like all my friends in the basement, like, are we doing this together? Like, yeah. And like, yeah, mine was in a very controlled setting.
Yeah, you're crying. You're like, I guess we're doing it.
I'm like spitting it out. I'm like, oh God, yeah.
At my school, I remember, so we usually just had like homecoming and prom were like the two dances. But my junior year, my class had a like the junior class, so my like actual class hosted a spring dance that they called the Crave, which stood for the Cougar Rave because we were the Oakton Cougars.
Oh my God, tell me you had to ask younger students.
No, that would have been amazing.
In my head, I'm thinking Cougars, senior girls asking freshman boys to dance, but no.
That first of all, if anyone who currently goes to Oakton High School or a Cougar-based high school is like listening to this, they should bring back the Crave, because the Crave only existed for 1 year because a bunch of people showed up on ecstasy and then they never did it again. But what I always remember about it is, do you remember the Oh My God Shoes video?
Of course.
It's one of the most the early YouTube videos.
Yes.
They did an advertisement for the Crave on the morning announcements that was a parody of the Oh My God Shoes video, where this very popular girl would go, oh my God, Crave.
It's like it doesn't even rhyme. There's no effort made. That's classic. It's just like, no, that's not how a parody works. You can't just insert a thing.
No, it was literally just this hot girl going, oh my God, Crave.
And everyone being like, God.
There were no lyrics. Like the parody was that thin.
Oh, that is classic.
Okay, so let's talk dating and boys and all that stuff. So you're going to an older prom. Are you what's your dating situation like in high school?
Well, I think we actually have a picture I would love to pull up for this. So my friend Caitlin weirdly sent me these last week, and I was like, this is such perfect timing. The two of us became best friends in like, I want to say 8th grade, 7th and 8th grade, and we were obsessed with these two guys to the point of thinking we were like going to marry them. I just remember never feeling so obsessed with someone in my life. So I my main memory of like boys in high school and middle school was blind obsession. Like, I don't remember why I liked them or what we even had in common. It was just like pure hormonal like obsession. Yes. I didn't like date until like senior year. Like until senior year, I didn't date someone who I was like, oh, this is someone who I love. Before that, it was just like, oh, we need each other's bodies.
There's something so like innocent and adolescent and fun about the unrequited crush.
Oh, it's so fun, isn't it? Yes.
It's like so painful at the time, and I would feel it so intensely.
Your whole body. It was like the craziest. And yeah, then you grow up and you like have certain things you look for in someone and things that like are big turnoffs or big turn-ons. But when you're young, like you'll follow anyone. Like you don't have your personality quite yet. So you're just like, yes, this person is I will make them my whole world.
And you've never dated anyone. So like all of your understandings about love and romance is from television. So you kind of turn the person into your TV boyfriend.
Totally true. Yeah. And like, yeah, you're living in your parents' house. They're like your only escape too. They're like, yeah. But I really didn't fall in like I was so scared and repressed, I think, of like sex that I really was so scared to fall in love because I was like, then I'm going to have to like have sex at some point. That I feel like I remember in high school just having like flirty things for a few until it got serious. And then I would be like, no. And then like, senior year in college, that changed. And then I started having real relationships.
Is that like in your flirting were these like over aim or were they?
Of course.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's got to be happening. I know we're both in relationships, but I feel like that's got to be happening now in the quarantine. I feel like people are probably getting like having fun, like AIM chats and getting to know people on whatever the equivalent is. Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. I'm like, AIM should come back.
Oh my God, if there were ever a time for AIM. Yes.
I remember I set an alert for my crush. Like I would set a little thing to tell me that he had come on, and his screen name was DJ School Ditcher.
I mean, can you get any more Hot Topic girl crush than DJ School Ditcher?
And I can still see in my mind like the thing of DJ School Ditcher coming up, and it all had different capitalization.
That's how we talked. That's how I remember remember how you had to talk like that? Like, hey, hi, what's up and down. What a chaos.
Yes, and like I would have to wait 2 seconds before messaging him so he didn't realize that I had an alert on for him.
I forgot about that. I just remember the sound of that door opening. Like that is like the crack, like that, hearing that door open and then see your crush come on, like your whole body trembled.
Yes. And I don't know if you felt the same way, but I had so much more confidence to talk to someone online. Like I would message a boy I'd never said shit to, whose screen name I had heard him say on the bus.
Yeah, like, there really was. It's so true. But then I remember too, like, it didn't change. Like I would be so shy in school, but then so willing to talk on AIM. But then once you get to school, it's as if you've never talked. You're so uncomfortable. It was like, yeah,
I would spend all night having like a long conversation with a boy where we're like talking about all of our life, and then you see them at school and you don't even you look away from each other.
You look away.
It's embarrassing. Like
I know. Oh God. Yeah.
And so when you finally started having like real relationships, is this someone you're meeting in these other activities? Or
yeah, I remember the person who I like really fell in love with, I met at like a Greek festival, like a church occasion. And then I remember when I was like falling in love with him being like, oh, this is what it means. That's the crazy part of growing up too, is like, oh, I actually like this person. I'm not just like I feel like so much of high school is like, oh, my body's just like into this person. But then I'm like, I don't know if we really, can't figure out why, but I don't think we really like each other. And then once you find someone, you're like, oh, I really like you as a person too. That's what first love is. Cause you're like, your mind is blown that you're like, my body likes this person and also like my mind. And then you're like, oh, forget it. I will.
Yeah.
All done.
This is what creating a real connection with someone else is like. That's outside of my mind just projecting an OC character onto him.
Exactly.
And making him be my Seth Cohen or whatever.
Exactly. Yeah.
So, okay, here's one other question I have for you, which is what this is a general question. What is Greek dance? Because you were saying like
no
what
problem.
Is that?
Well, I thought you'd never ask. Okay, here we go. Okay. So you get it's a big, I know we're backlit. Okay. So it's a nice hearty line dance. So you all kind of stand next to each other. So, all of a sudden, okay, we're touching elbows, we're touching shoulders. And there's a lot of just sort of, it's just all like lines. So it's like, da 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 da, and it's just the same. And it's like very simple. Some of the guys would do crazy like, yeah. Like those were the guys that like you really wanted to be with because they were so like, yeah, in skirts, like just very, but yeah. So yeah, that's really what it was. So you'd learn like choreographed dances together, and then you'd do them in a line at like a Greek festival, and it was like the event of the summer.
Did you have crushes on boys from that too? Because there's touching involved in that. So
oh yeah, but the thing with that was like there were like two guys that everyone had a crush on, and so it was kind of like there wasn't even a chance. It was like I'm not even gonna put my name in the hat because everyone likes these boys, and I'm not gonna. But I used to have crushes on them, like, but it was back in the like collective crush day of just all of us being like, he's so dreamy, but no one really knowing who he was.
Yeah, that is an interesting time where it's just kind of like all the girls decide together to have a crush on one person.
Totally. That's like such a thing that does, like it's sort of like how we treat celebrities now. That's how we treated like normal boys. Just like we all love Ryan
Yes.
Gosling, but Ryan Gosling is like Nick.
And God bless it if any of us gets with him. It probably won't happen, but
Right.
Like, I remember when I went to camp, there was a hot counselor, which is like, there's no greater position of power than the hot counselor at camp.
I mean, wow, none.
And everyone at camp had to have like a special name. Like the counselors, you didn't call them by their real names; they had different names. And his name was Wave Runner. Ugh, so sexual.
Oh my God. He knew what he was doing with that nickname.
He knew when he chose Wave Runner. As a 16-year-old with bleached tips who runs who runs water polo and is in charge of 12-year-old girls, he knew what he was doing.
Damn well what he was doing with that nickname. Oh my God.
And I remember
I went to camp. I didn't get to go to camp. That's like I feel like camp must have just been like heaven for like being, yeah.
So I only went in like 6th grade one time. So I didn't really get to do like the full camp thing. But I have friends who, I feel like if you're doing the camp thing, what I think of that is my friends who went to camp every summer of high school and had like another life that had no bearing on their current life.
Totally. Like that's how it felt. And it was a whole different world. Like I would go again. I went to like Catholic camp. So I remember going to like a Catholic camp with my church group or like a Christian camp, I think. But it's like 1 week, 2 week stints. That doesn't count. It's when you went all summer, you saw the same people. They all had their cabins and their bunk mates. That's a different world that I would have loved to have been a part of.
Yeah. And they'd come back like knowing sex stuff that you were like, why?
Oh, yeah. Those people are the most advanced. They knew what hand jobs were when we didn't even know what a penis was. Yeah.
Yeah. It seemed like a whole different world to me. Like I kind of idolized camp in my mind, but for some reason, even as a teenager, I was like, I'm just not one of them. I'm just not one of the camp people.
No, I know. Because they really had a life or quality about them where no matter what year it was, they're like, I've been going to this camp for 7 years. You're like, but we're only 6.
Exactly. Yeah. No matter how young you were, it always felt like you were too late to go to camp.
That's so it. Yeah, it's like you missed it. We already have secrets and we have inside jokes and you wouldn't understand. I was also so scared of sleepovers. Like I was so anxious. I could not sleep over even my best friend's house. I was like the last to fall asleep. I would call my parents to pick me up. I was a mess that like, I think the idea of camp terrified me. I don't think I was strong enough emotionally to leave my parents.
I call my parents to pick me up from the sleepover kid too.
It's so funny when you look back being like, oh, I was so anxious as a kid, but you didn't know what that meant. Now I'm looking back, I'm like, oh yeah, you had severe anxiety, but you thought it was just like you didn't like sleepovers. It's like, no, you like sleepovers, but you're so paranoid about not falling asleep that Yes,
I remember when I was in high school, I wanted to switch from regular history into honors history. And I was so fraught over the fact that I thought I had this weird assumption that they weren't going to let me switch. And this was occupying such a huge place in my brain that I remember I physically couldn't eat for 2 days. Because I didn't know.
And it's like you build this whole world of like what the history teacher's going to say. And it's like none of it. That's why I'm telling you, I am so grateful for sports and dance. And I really have to remind myself of that even now of like when you're spiraling or something, you just got to like move your body and get like your brain is moving too fast and your body's not. And in quarantine, especially, it's like, we got to keep trying to do things. Cause the mind is I'm sure you were able to switch that class and it was fine.
Oh, yes, and I was so convinced that for like the entire 24-hour period where I was waiting to hear back that like there was a dark meeting happening with like my principal and every person I'd ever met was like making a case for and against why I should go to history. And it was literally just a matter of someone like clicking a button on a screen.
I know. That's so relatable. I mean, it's so nice having comedy and now being able to be like, oh, I know I now feel,
Yeah, and I mean, it seems like you still have running in your life as an outlet to this day.
Yeah, I'm a little injured. My body's a little injured, so that's a bit tough. So I can't do it the same way I would like to, but I do it when I save it for like when I need it. I use it. Yeah.
Yes. Okay. So I think honestly, this is a great place for me to ask you our final question, which is, if you were to speak to teen Alyssa today, what message would you have for her?
Girl, don't wear that skirt. Do not wear that skirt. Do not pop that collar. You best believe that collar better be unpopped. Take the earrings out. Don't wax your eyebrows to nothingness. And surround yourself with people who make you feel like your best self, and you don't have to do things you don't want to do. I think that's a lesson I learn every year of my life, is just like, this is our life. You don't have to do anything you don't want to do. But high school, I think that's maximized the most when you're a teen. It's like just thinking, because everyone's like doing this, I have to do this thing. But it's like, no, if I could go back, I would just hang out with, my friends who made me feel good. And yeah,
it's so funny to think back on, like, it's been a really long time since, like, I haven't had a friend that I'm actually always mad at, like, in such a long time.
Like that's exactly it. It's like, that should not, right. You don't need to have people who make you feel bad. You don't need to be friends with people who you're worried if they don't like you or not. You should never feel like, does my friend hate me? That's not a friend. That's not, but in high school, for some reason, that was always happening.
Yeah, I feel like in high school, you just always have one friend who's actually openly cruel towards you.
It's so true. Yeah.
Like, why? Why are you?
You kind of have to, you're all in the same, you don't realize yet you don't have to put up with it.
This person implies I'm fat every day and I'm inviting them to my birthday party because I have to. What's going on with that?
I know.
Okay, well, Alyssa, it was amazing to talk to you.
Thank you talking to you.
Thank you so much for coming on the pod. I hope you're doing well in quarantine. And for everyone at home listening, this has been the Roast of Your Teenage Self podcast.
Bye.
Bye.